I think probably they have originated from the same language. This is English, for instance, from 1500 years ago. Now, I can't read but one word on the page. I said, duh, the first one. So the English has changed radically in the last 1500 years, and Spanish, Italian, French, and Latin probably had a common root language. Nobody argues about that. I think a lot of the original languages contained the gospel story. For instance, in Chinese, you see the symbol for boat in the upper right-hand corner here is a combination of the symbol for a vessel, 8, and mouths. 8 mouths in one vessel. That's Noah's Ark. So a boat is the symbol for 8 mouths in a vessel. The symbol for garden is dust plus breath plus 2 people in an enclosure. The Garden of Eden, 2 people made from the dust of the ground. There are some great, great books on the Chinese language and how it contains the gospel story. Another book called God's Promise to the Chinese. You can get either one of these through our ministry here. I think God made everybody of one blood according to Acts chapter 17. So you're not superior because of the color of your skin. Malachi said, have we not all one Father? We all came from Noah, folks, and nobody's superior because of the color of their skin. They've been searching for the Adam and Eve, according to Science magazine here, Newsweek magazine. They say we had a common ancestor, one woman who lived 200,000 years ago, mitochondrial Eve. Then later they did research and said, wow, maybe it was only 6,000 years ago because they found that mitochondria changes quicker than they thought. And then they said, oops, we know that can't be right, so we're going to keep searching. The fact of the matter is, the Bible's right. About 4,400 years ago, we all came from Noah and his descendants. Noah's 3 sons, of course, may have been married to sisters or may have been married to somebody else from before the flood. I'm not sure what the diversity was in the, before the flood back then. Okay, next question. What about cloning? Well, I think cloning is an interesting genetic trick, but it's not producing anything new. They're taking a DNA code that already exists and transplanting it. And the DNA code is incredibly complex. We cover this on seminar part 4, how complex the code is. What happened with the sheep Dolly, they took a 4-year-old sheep and they tried to take a cell and take a nucleus out of the cell and put it into a different cell and implant it so it would develop into a new sheep. They had 277 failures. It cost them $50,000 to make that one sheep. And then Dolly ended up aging much faster than normal and died very early. Didn't live near as long as a normal sheep does. So basically, it was a failure. $50,000 for one sheep. I said, fellas, hey, the sheep can do this a whole lot quicker and cheaper. Leave them alone. They're doing fine. Okay. Next question. Why did God make poisonous snakes in a perfect world? I don't know the answer to this one for sure, but I have a theory that might help shed some light on this. Dr. Guderian in western Ecuador has treated 300 cases of snake bite with electric shock. They use a stun gun. If you get bit by a poisonous snake, if they get you within the first 30 minutes, they will take a stun gun and shock the site of the injury where you got bit. They shock the other side of the limb, and if it's been more than 30 minutes, they go halfway to the heart and shock you again. The electric shock going through your body neutralizes the poison. A lot of people in jungle areas now are carrying little stun guns, and if you get bit by a poisonous snake or a poisonous spider, you spark it and go back to work. So many theories abound on why there were poisonous snakes. Maybe they weren't poisonous. You can contact Carl Baugh, Glen Rose, Texas, about the hyperbaric chamber he has there, where he raised poisonous snakes, I believe it was copperheads, under hyperbaric conditions, high pressure oxygen, and increased electromagnetic field, which probably the Earth had before the flood, stronger magnetic field. After 2 weeks, his snakes were not poisonous. They were still snakes, of course, but the poison was not harmful to the human body. So, 50 milliamp spark at 60 hertz is safe for is a safe medical limit. Many stun guns are 3 milliamp. So it's not a problem at all. They say you should shock the bite as soon as possible. Straddle the bite with the probes and shock twice in an X pattern. If more than 30 minutes has passed, connect a wire to one probe and shock through the limb. This is how they're doing it in missionary schools. They're teaching them how to handle snake bites with stun guns. Or if you can't get that, get a spark plug off of a lawnmower, or chainsaw, or car or something, and shock it. It'll help neutralize the poison. All right, what about the Ark of the Covenant? Well, in Jeremiah chapter 52, it tells us that they took away the cups, the spoons, the bowls. I mean, it mentions all kinds of little detail things out of the temple. In Ezra, it tells us about the stuff they brought back, and it says Nebuchadnezzar brought back stuff to the temple. Nebuchadnezzar took away the things, and Ezra brought them back here. And it mentions the knives, the gold and silver basins, the cups, everything. Little tiny stuff is all mentioned, but the Ark of the Covenant is never mentioned. What happened to the Ark of the Covenant? Well, in 2 Chronicles 26, it tells us Uzziah prepared cunning engines and machines to cast great stones. They made basically catapults. He put these on the walls of the city of Jerusalem to fling these massive stones out there to protect the city. Nebuchadnezzar came along and said, I would like to take over your city. I'd like all your gold. I want to kill all of you folks. So they, had a big siege. Nebuchadnezzar apparently built a siege wall outside the range of the catapults. And he's just going to starve them out. In between the regular wall and the siege wall is no man's land. So apparently, Jeremiah, who was in the city, knew they were going to lose. God told him, you're going to lose. Tell the king to surrender. The king didn't want to surrender, so they ended up losing. But Jeremiah took the temple furniture outside the city wall and inside the siege wall, probably at night, and he hid the Ark of the Covenant, the table of showbread, the candlestick. A lot of these things were taken outside the city wall, but inside the siege wall, and hidden in a cave system. If you look at the city of Jerusalem here, and pretend it's a clock, right about 10 o'clock you'll see Golgotha. Right there where Golgotha is apparently where this cave system was that Jeremiah hid it. If you read Jeremiah 27, it says, the nation and kingdom that will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, that nation will I punish. Jeremiah knew full well they were supposed to surrender to Nebuchadnezzar. King didn't want to do it, and they didn't do it, so they ended up being killed, most of them, taken captive. So Jeremiah took the temple furniture, apparently, outside the city wall in a cave system, a tunnel system, out to underneath where today is Golgotha, where Jesus was crucified. Ron Wyatt was a good friend of mine. He died in '99, but he did a lot of research over there, and he says that he actually saw the Ark of the Covenant. I get people that criticize me for even mentioning Ron Wyatt. Well, I think he did good work, and you ought to read what he's done. Read his research. He says the Ark of the Covenant was there in a box made of like a big stone case, and it was sealed up in a room. They found this, it's like a big sponge over there. This cave system is pretty spread out. And he saw the Ark of the Covenant. He said all it had was the 10 Commandments in it, nothing else. I talked to Ron in 1982. In January '82, Ron claims he found the Ark. I spent several hours talking to Ron. I said, Ron, you realize how far-fetched this sounds? He said, Brother Hovind, if you were telling me, I wouldn't believe you. He said, but it happened, I'll tell you. He said, I brought the Jewish authorities. I told them what I found. They haven't touched it. They're afraid to touch it. They learned from a guy named Uzzah years ago in 1 Chronicles when Uzzah touched the Ark and God killed him. So they haven't touched it, but they do know it's there, and they're going to bring it out as soon as they're ready. You can see the WyattMuseum.com website if you want to get more on the Ark of the Covenant. Next question. What about Bigfoot? Well, I have talked to 10 people now who've told me face-to-face they have seen a Bigfoot. Todd Jurassic, friend of mine from Oklahoma, has done incredible research on Bigfoot. You can get a hold of Todd. He's writing a book about the creature. He's interviewed many folks who claim they've seen one. It appears that the Patterson film may be a fake. I don't know. They said somebody confessed that they were dressed up in an ape suit and all that stuff. I don't know. But there have been an awful lot of sightings that are pretty hard to explain that appear to be something like a Bigfoot. I don't know what it is, but here are the theories. Some people say they're all hoaxes or misidentified. That certainly could be true. I don't know. There are many stories that simply can't be explained, I don't think, as hoaxes or misidentified. There seem to be pretty reliable sightings with hard-to-explain things like deep footprints that a person couldn't make unless he weighed 600 pounds. By the way, who in their right mind would run around the woods in an ape suit? Do you realize how many rednecks would love to shoot one of those things and bring it in and hang it on their wall? I mean, that's just not smart, okay? I don't think they're all just hoaxes or frauds, though some probably are. Second theory says